Today our special guest presenter is Bob. So the Excel Microsoft community, the Excel learning community is being powered by UrBizEdge, and UrBizEdge is a registered Microsoft consulting, financial modeling, business intelligence, data analysis, and enterprise solution firm in Nigeria. So these are the upcoming training calendars for December and January. Today, guest speaker is Bob, and Bob is an MVP, a Microsoft Most Valuable Professional. He has been an MVP since 1993 for the past 23 years and is the longest running Excel MVP. He has also been using Microsoft since version 0.99 and also part of the beta testing team for Microsoft. He's author of This Is It Excel, It's Magic, which is available on Amazon, and also again the author of Excel Out of the Box and Excel Preschool and currently is also the co-lead of the New York Excel PC user for the past 10 years. You can find Bob on LinkedIn by just typing in his name. Okay. Hello, Bob. Hello.
Hello.
Yes,
Hello.
over to you, Bob. You
Uh,
can the screen.
Yeah, let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes.
Yes. Continue screen.
Yes.
Okay, so a lot of the tips I'm going to be showing you today are from this book. This is Excel, It's Magic, and you can find all my other books typing my last name Umlas into Amazon.com. So I'm going to show you a bunch of tips and tricks. I have a couple of range names on this. Welcome. Let me just reduce this so we can see more of it. I'm going to zoom to, let's say, 50%. So that's a range name called Welcome, and I have another one called To, and another one called Excel, and finally one called Tips and Tricks. So this tab is named 39% because when you view on the View menu and you zoom at 39% or less, range names show up like that. The range name. So if I just name this hello, there it is. That's the word hello. Good way to look at workbooks you would get from somebody else to analyze. And also, let me go back to 100%. This is my car or my previous car. My license plate is Excel MVP. All right, we're gonna move on. First, a bunch of quick formatting tips. I'm going to use it on these cells. So if I Control plus Shift plus 1, put 2 decimal places in it. 2 is a time. Control Shift 3 is a date. Control Shift 4 is a dollar currency. Control Shift 5 is percent. Control Shift 6 is scientific notation. Control Shift 7 is to put a border on it. So there's a border I just put on there. As a matter of fact, if I do this and Control Shift 7, I have both borders. There is no Control Shift 8 about formatting, or 9. Control Shift minus removes the border. So that border is gone. And to get everything back to general, Control Shift tilde. That's the character to the left of the number 1, at least on the US keyboard. Looks like a back accent. Okay, I'm gonna get rid of those. I also want to show you about a page setup demo. If I look at print preview on this, and I have that in here, that's quick print preview. Notice that it has a center header. It has the row and column letters showing, and the grid lines are showing. Supposing that's the center, that's the format, and also on the bottom right, it has a date and time, and that's the New York time. Supposing, sorry, that is exactly what I want, but I have another tab that I want it on. So this tab just has some data, and if I were to print preview that, you would see there's no setting, no header, footer, it's portrait, not landscape, etc. How do I copy a page setup? So I control click on the next tab, or I can shift click on it if they're always together. So it puts them in group mode, which means that anything I do on one tab will be done on all the sheets in that group, including making a selection. So I just selected C3 to H10. If I go to this other tab, it's C3 to H10. So to copy the page setup, I go to the page layout tab. I click on this dialog launcher, page setup, and just click OK. I'm done. If I'm going to ungroup the sheets, right mouse click, ungroup sheets, go back to this sheet, and I'll look at print preview, and everything is copied. Okay, next. This is just something I will get back to later. It's very simple, just 4 ones. It has the word Bob in the title. Let's take a look at Autosum. Supposing what you got these numbers and you want to put the totals in here, and you want to put the totals in here. What most people would do is they would click in this cell, do Alt equals, and that's right, enter it, double click the fill handle, go here, Alt equals, enter it, and then drag the fill handle to the right, and the task is done. But there's an easier way. I'm going to Control Z, undo all of it. I make this selection. I include an extra row and an extra column, and then I do Alt equals, and I'm done. It did them all. Moving along. Totals. So right now, we'll go back to the Home tab. I have a bunch of numbers, and every so often I have a subtotal, which is I'm using a sum function. So there's a subtotal of the numbers above, and it goes on, and then I want to create the grand total. What's the formula I want to use for the grand total? What I have seen is something like this. Actually, I've seen this extend for over 2 lines in the formula bar. Somebody did equals click plus scroll, click, etc. So it's right if you get it right, but you might miss one once in a while and you get it wrong. Another way is by using the SUMIF command. The SUMIF takes a range, which is A1 to A133. If that range contains the word subtotal, then add up the corresponding value in B1 to B133. So wherever it says subtotal, it'll add up that value. That's useful. There's another one called the sum product. Sum product multiplies arrays together and then adds the result. Now, this says, and the list of arrays must be numeric. So this part is numeric. B1 to B133 is numeric. But here I put in a condition, A1 to A133 equals the word subtotal, and that is not numeric. That's true and false. So that's not going to work. But there's a function called n here, and n changes true to 1 and false to 0. Or any text to 0, and we have that. So wherever there's a 1, that number would be corresponded to whatever this number is, and it would add them up, and I get the same value. Here's another one. This is just the sum function. And why I would show that, even though we pretty much examined it over here with the plus, is that if I'm in this cell and I do Alt equals, Excel will find all the ones I need. So it's pretty easy to do that one. Alt equals puts them in. But the one I like best is this, equals the sum of B1 through B133 divided by 2. Why does that work? Well, let's take a quick look. These numbers add up to 456. That's what this is saying, sum of those. So these is 456, this is 456, so we have 456 in here twice. And not like that all the way down. This 681 is what these total. Oops, sorry. Go back. 681. If I double click it, those highlighted numbers are 681 plus the 681. 681's in there twice. So I add them all up and divide by 2 to get out the twice, and it works. So don't write formulas that look like that. It's terrible. Okay. Here I have, I want to get the total down here, I want to get the average, and I want to get the max. It's very easy to get the total. I'm gonna just do it in these first three first and then just fill it down. I could just do alt equals. That works. But how do I get the average? If I try using the Autosum, click on this and click average, it would be nice if it worked, but it included G2. So I'd have to readjust that. Same with max. If I'm here and I do Autosum max, it includes H2, which is not going to be what I want. Here's a cool trick. Just select these, what you want to take the average of. I go to Autosum, click average, and it puts the answer in the average place. The only weird drawback is that it changed the selection to include total. I'm going to do this again up to here, go to max, Autosum max, and it puts the answer in. Again, it includes this total, but that's okay. Then I can click these three and double click, and I have the answers I'm looking for. Okay, a couple of miscellaneous things. Did you know that you could type R1C1 notation in the name box? I could do row 3, column 7, and hit enter. And I'm in row 3, column 7. Row 1, column 1000. ALL is column 1000. A random fact. But you could also do something like this. Offset, no equal sign. Offset of A1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is the offset of A1, 2 rows down, that's A3, 3 columns over, that's D3, in a shape of 4 by 5. And there it is. Okay, I'm going to skip that next tip. Did you know that text boxes can have multi-columns? This is the plain old text box. If I go to the shape format, actually, if I go Control-1, that's the font. I don't want to do that. Let's click on here, Control-1. All right, let's do it this way. I have a new computer and some things act differently. I want the task pane to show up. So let's do format shape. There we go. And it is, let me just move this out of the way, the text box. And down, again, I'll get that out of the way. There's columns, click on that. Wrap text. Last time I looked at this, it gave me a number. Wrap text and shape. Columns. That's very strange. Oh, here it is. I'd never even popped up right in the middle of something I didn't see. Okay, this says, sorry, this says 3. So if I do 2, it's all the text is in 2 columns. Anyway, now you know it. I should have looked better. Okay, let's move on to the next. There's quite a bit. How to. So here's a task. I have this data, and the task is to remove everything before the colon and the slash. So I'd like this to say just do this, and this one should say do that, etc. So I'm going to show you 4 different ways to do it. One is by formula. Formula, I have to find out where's the colon. If I do equals find a colon in this cell, it finds it in the 6th position. So I could say I want the middle part of A3, starting with the 6th position plus 2, because the 6th position is the colon. That position plus 1 is the space. That position plus 2 is the first text that I do want, and I'll arbitrarily pick 100 characters, do that, and double click, and it's all done, aside from I wanted it here. So what I would have to do is copy, paste special values. There's a cool trick to do that. When you select the border, when you hover over the border, it changes shape. If I right mouse click on that and then drag, this is a cut and paste, but I get options. Well, copy here is values only, which is what I want. And then I can get rid of this. It wasn't cut and paste, I meant copy paste. So that worked. Undo, 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 undo. Text to columns. I click on this and I go to the data tab and I do text to columns, and it's delimited, and it's delimited by a colon. I can click in here and just type a colon. You'll see that one of the things is it's going to give me a leading space, so it'll have more work to do. If I do next, I'll leave it in place, A3. I could, I'm going to put it in B3 because we have work to do. Finish. There it is. This is what I want. I don't want this, but this has a leading space in it. So the more work I have to do is equal the mid of this, comma 2, let's say 100, and drag it down. And then the same old copy paste special on top of this and get rid of all the other work we did. So let me undo those. Oops. Okay. Flash fill. Flash fill is great. I type in what I want. Do this. That's what I want. And then I say, Excel, you know how to do this. So I can do flash fill on the, can't see the dialog box. Well, dialog box is now gone. Why can't you see the dialog box? I don't know how to fix that if you didn't see it, but the text to columns brings up a dialog box in which I went to step 1 has delimited fixed, delimited selected. Step 2, I just enter a colon in the other, and then I just click finish to get the result I got. I'll try to remember that you can't see my dialog boxes because I guess I didn't share everything. All right, back to flash fill. So I typed in what I want, and on the home tab, I can go to fill and down to flash fill. It's also Control E, and it does the job great. You supply the sample, and it does the rest. Okay, undo, undo. It's not quite finished because I still have to copy paste special or copy it on top of this. My favorite is the replace. So I select this, I do Control H, which is find and replace. What I'm finding is a everything, and then a colon and a space. Wildcard asterisk, colon and a space. So everything before the colon and the space, I'm going to replace it with nothing. Replace all and I'm done. I don't even have to move it into place, copy and paste. Okay, I'm going to try to show this an arrange all. Do I have everything? No, okay. So I'm going to do a couple of new workbooks. I have a bunch of workbooks now. Oops, not there. I have what I was working with and these. And if I go to arrange all, view, arrange all, tiled, I get this, of course. But what's the order? What is the order? So that's how what we're about to live. This is the only one that was working with before. Supposing I want that to be first. Okay, but I want this one to be second, and maybe this one to be third, and this one to be fourth, this one to be fifth, and this one to be sixth. Okay, so I want live demo in the upper left corner. Then I want, where's the 2? I want this guy, next, etc. All I have to do is, before I do the arrange all, is click the order in the reverse order. So I'm just clicking 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and live demo. Then I go to the view and arrange all. Not showing me the window. Arrange all, tiled, okay. And look what we have. Here's 1, here's 2, here's 3, 4, 5, 6. That's cool. I'm gonna not save. Not save. Not save. I'll just make this bigger. Okay. All the characters in the font set. So column A is Arial, column B is Century, etc. And I have the same formula throughout. The formula I have is char of row. The row, open, close parenthesis. If I drag all the way down, that's what's being shown. So char of row every place. It's a character of the row that I'm in. So row 98 char of 98 is a lowercase b, equals char 98, oops, char 98, and I get the lowercase b. Why this can come in handy is maybe you're looking for a special character and you don't know how to enter it, like, let's see, keep on going here, pound sterling. Maybe you do know how to enter pound sterling. But I see it says char of row and the row min is 128. If you know the row number, you can type this character directly anywhere. So, and this works in all Office if you know the character. You type the row number with the leading 0, and you use a numeric keypad, and you hold the Alt key. So I'm holding the Alt key, and I'm typing 0128. When I let go of the Alt key, there it is. Let's say I wanted pound sterling, 163. Alt 0163, let go, there it is. Maybe I want a cent sign, Alt 0162. When I memorize as a degree symbol, Alt 0176, degree symbol. One of your favorite ones, or print this out, keep it near your computer, and just type it. Now you can also type a bullet directly, Alt 7 on the numeric keypad. Alt 7 is a bullet. Oops. And Alt 3456 is the heart diamond club spade. So Alt 3 is that. Oops, I don't know how I got there, but I got there. Go back home. After I put them in, I colored the hearts and diamonds as red. Also, if you ever work with lots of check marks, and then you have to hide rows, the check marks make a terrible bundle, but here's a character that's a check mark. When I click on it, it changes. But that's done by code. So if I right mouse click and do view code, I can't make this bigger. I have a weird bug. Well, this will not resize. But I'm just saying the selection change. If the font name is Wingdings, then if the target value is a O, then make it whatever this character is. Else, if it's that, then make it an O. So in Wingdings, these characters are a check mark and not a check mark. Anyway, here's another one of those. I had 4 1s before. Now I have 4 2s. We'll come back to that. Distribute. If I want to fill from here to here with some number so that they would be equidistant, equally spaced, how do I do that? Well, here's a formula that kind of does it. C15 minus C1, that will be 14, divided by, I'm sorry, C15 minus C1 is 554 minus 123, divided by the row of C15 minus the row of C1, which is 15 minus 1, so divided by 14. This number, if I put it in each of these cells plus the cell above, so I go equals the cell above plus this as an absolute, because when I fill that down, that number, if I drag it down to here, it goes down this far, and if I drag it one more, it is 550. Oops, sorry. This number, let's see, to fill it all the way down. C2, why did that change? Let's go back. Something happened, which I don't know what it was. This was 554, I believe. So equals this plus this, and I'm going to put it here and then fill it all the way down. No, equals C2, I'll make it D. D2, sorry, I don't want to get delayed on here. D2 plus E2, absolute. This will eventually make some sense. There it is, there's the 554. I'm going to undo all that. If I change this to here, of course, that changes, the number is different and so on. But you don't want to have to memorize what that value, because Excel has it already built in. If I make that selection, And on the Home tab, I go Fill Series. Notice that Excel already fills it in with that right number. Same number, 35.9166. If this were down here, number to fill is 21.55. I select all that. Fill Series. There it is, 21.55. Okay, moving along. This one is pretty amazing. I discovered this one literally, well, in a dream. I slept and discovered this, and when I woke up, I could hardly wait to try it, and it works fine. I came up with a formula. I'm calling it a named range called equal FL. If I take away the leading quote, when I hit enter, I get all the current files in the current directory. There's a lot of PDFs and all that. If I open the current directory, browse, and I just do all files, period. Doesn't look like what I was pointing to. Let's go back. There it is. It's the current directory. This is what was, oops, this is what was in there. This is just Excel files. Let me change the directory again. I'm going to go to a place where I have lots of Excel files. Right there is good enough. Cancel. Go back. Re-enter that. Lots of Excel files. But I also have old files in here. I have Word files someplace, etc. If I want only Excel files, I do FLX. And these are just Excel files. So this is a little shorter. The question is, what are these? How do these work? And then also tab names. If I get rid of that quote, these are all the tab names in this workbook, and happens to be alphabetized. So we're currently on files, etc., and there it is. So these are all, let's just look at the defined names. They're in here on hide. FL is defined as the transpose of files. FLX is defined as the transpose of files, and I quote star.xl star. Tab names is one that probably you're not familiar with because of the get.workbook1. Get.workbook1 is invalid, equals get.workbook1. That function isn't valid, but it exists in Excel 4, and it's available as a name. If I go to formulas, name manager, and I look at tab names, it's exactly what's shown in the workbook. Let's do a new one to find out what is, demo, what is just get workbook 1. Click OK, close, and I'll type in here equals demo. Oh, it goes horizontal. So let me just do in here, I'll do transpose of that. Transpose of demo. And I have the same thing that I had here, not alphabetized, but every one is preceded by the name of the workbook. So that's why I do the mid of the get workbook 1, find that right bracket, which is what it's looking for. I'm finding the right bracket in the get workbook 1, so it finds it plus 1, that's the 39, length of 255. So what I wind up with is just the tab names. Then I did a sort on it in tab names, and I get this. Very useful. Next, this one is just a little odd. There's something called the camera tool. I have this as the camera tool, which you can get by customizing the quick access toolbar, and you camera is not in here. I do all commands, and then camera will be in here someplace, and I just made it available. What the camera does is takes a screenshot of the cells. If I do this and use the camera and then develop it here, you see the piece of what I did G14 to a J21. Anyway, I don't want to spend time much on the calendar tool, but I found some oddity with it that Microsoft was unable to explain. I think the guy who invented this is no longer with Microsoft. So this is A1 to F16. It is that. If I change that to another color, of course it changes in here. But the weird thing is if I drag this close enough, I have like a mirror of the mirror, because this goes to F16. F16 is currently blocked by, this image is in there. If I drag it closer and closer, it eventually gets like the mirror image if you stand in a hole of mirrors. The thing that's really strange though, if I change this change that 4 to an X, it only handles the first one. If I change it to a Y and a Z, the word hello. It's like, where is this being stored? Where is that Y? If I just jiggle this a little, it'll update. Jiggle it a little again, it'll update. It's just a strange oddity which I enjoy. Okay, entering totals. Here I have not random numbers, but a bunch of numbers for months, and I want the percent that is of the grand total. So each of these is B2 divided by H2. Here's the total for the quarter. So I have month total for the quarter, month total for the quarter, month total for the quarter, and then the quarter total. The question that we're trying to find out is how do I put totals in here? If I just drag this to the right just a little bit, you'll see I'm getting a number that's not useful. Not useful at all. What I would like to do is put a number here and here and here and here, and then the pattern changes to here. So if I make that selection to start, including a blank, if I drag this out, looks pretty good, except I missed this one. And I went haywire again. So here's the solution. I make this selection so I can repeat the pattern of number blank, but I only go out to the end of the quarter. Then I start again. Notice that it's putting well, you won't notice till the very end. Go out to here, and everything is just as I want it. So I stopped here and then repeated this pattern going forward. All right, moving along. Change the row height. Here I have a bunch of accounting departments and personnel and IS, whatever. What I want to do is, for printing purposes, and I'll just take a quick look at print preview, there's no break in here. It's all the way down. I would like to break visually when there's a new department. So I'm going to start here, because that's the first row that might be a new department, and say if the previous one is not equal to this one, then I'm going to do 1 and false, and you'll see why in a moment. Double click, and it says 1 wherever I want a page break. I'm sorry, a row height change. Okay. So now if I go to special, I can say let's select the formulas that only contain numbers, not logicals. So I could have picked 1 and false. I picked numbers and logicals. I could have picked some quoted things like just quote and NA. I could have chose any 2 of these just so that I can come back and select what I want. I don't have to. It's only going to be numbers or logical, so I don't care about these, but there aren't going to be any text and errors. I made it up. So I click OK, and all the ones, however far they are selected. I can then go to format row height and maybe double it up, 30. And then get rid of column B. And now the print preview looks a lot nicer for a break. Okay. Double space. So here I have lots of data, 850 rows of data. I want to physically put a row between each row. don't want to do this 850 times. So I came up with a method that works great and it has a subtip in it. I'm going to number these all. Number 1, and I want this to be number 2, etc. But most people, what they do is they type the 1 and they type the 2, because if I just fill this down, I just get 1s. I could control click that and I'll get 2, 3, 4, but I can't. I have to drag it 850 rows then. There is a way to get 1, 2 with just starting with a 1. I just include a blank cell. Watch. I'm not holding down any keys. So I make this selection, double click. I then copy as is, control down arrow, and then move down to that space and paste. So I have 2 sets of 1 to 850 in this case. Next to this number 1 is nothing. Next to the number 1 above is the lots of stuff. Then this 2 is nothing, etc. All I have to do from here is go to data sort, and I'm done. Back home. It's sorted the blank lines into place. I can then get rid of column E. Okay, here's another one of those. 3333. I'm gonna ignore this part. I'm not going to cover that here. But did you ever work with a workbook that you changed a lot and you're writing a dictator application in which you have to reopen the workbook? You can't reopen the workbook. I'll prove that. I'm going to go here and I'll just change these to a yellow, and then I'm going to say open, and this is master TNT. I'm in data Excel. Actually, I'm just select that tip. This is called location. Okay, so I'm going to open and browse and go here, do that, and here it is. That's the file we're looking at. I click open and nothing happened. You can't reopen yourself, but watch, reopen myself. I guess I have to share it again, maybe. Anyway, it reopened. You can tell by the yellow's gone. So how do you do that? Assign macro. I apologize that this machine has very teeny text for VBA. And I'm trying to work with Microsoft to open it.
Your screen is not.
Oh, you don't see this?
No, I can't see your screen.
You do see it? Do you see my VBA?
No, I can't see your screen. We can't see your screen. Your screen is, I think,
oh,
got this.
All right, hold on. Let's go back.
And yeah, we're going to see the dialog box. And I think you didn't share your entire screen. You only shared.
Okay. Now you see my VBA?
Yes, I can see your VBA now.
Okay. So what I ran to reopen was this thing called Reopen Me. I don't know if you can see it, but I have an application on time now, which is in the next instant, run this code. And after that, it'll run this code. So I'm closing the workbook. But what I left in memory is, hey, when you get a second, run this code called reopen. So after this workbook is closed, it's sitting in memory is still the command to run this code. Well, it can't run the code if the workbook's closed, so we have to reopen it. And what I'm just doing is make sure I get this active workbook, and it'll reselect that. When you play it back and try it out, you'll find that works great. Moving along, I'm looking at the time. So the thing that I did before with all those these 1111, 2222, I'm about to make that to use. Here I have a function. It's with a leading quote, so it's a text. The sum of single quote asterisk Bob asterisk single quote A1 to B2. It's not doing anything yet, but when you put in a sum function like that, I'm saying any tab that has the word Bob in it should be added together when I get rid of that leading quote. And not only that, and I did that, but it changed it completely. It found them all and put in the sum of Bob later 1, 4 later Bob, another Bob, and each one of them is A1 to B2. Pretty cool. Okay, you're probably familiar with the Format Painter. I can use it on objects as well. I click on this, go to the Format Painter and click on this, and I've copied the outline. It's not going to change the shape. If I had a heart shape, it would still be a heart shape, but it would be surrounded with a dotted line. Comments, now called notes. You ever see a comment looks like that? Or note? So let me show you how to make a note that looks like that. Do I have change shape? No, I don't even have it. You need to have a change shape command in here. So I'm going to right mouse click, customize the quick access toolbar, go into here, all commands, and oh, I do have change shape. I take it back. Anyway, you have to find change shape, which I have here. That's change shape, but it's dimmed. So if I take a comment, or in this case, note, review, note, new note. This is kind of bland. In order to make it be kind of cool, is I have to select the border. I can't be inside here with the cursor blinking. Select the border, and then I do this change shape. And I give it any shape I want. Let's try, I mentioned the heart. Let's do a heart. So it's now a heart shape. But to get the rest, I do Control-1. I go to Colors on Lines. And in this color drop down at the bottom is Fill Effects. They really hid this well. And I can make it two-tone, etc., or texture, or pattern. But I like picture. And I'm going to select the picture. And let's do a Bing image search for a shark. And I'll pick this guy. Insert. And OK. And OK. And there's my comment. So no more boring comments. Okay, one more, which is pretty useful, I think. In almost all my workbooks, I define a name called Z, but I define it while I'm in A1. So I'm going to go to Formulas, Name Manager, Z, and Z is defined as equal exclamation point, A1 to Z100. If I didn't put in a leading exclamation point, then only put in A1 to Z100, Excel would append the tab name in front of it. So this name would only be useful or work on this particular tab. If you start with the exclamation point, it leaves off the tab name, which means that this thing works on all tabs. I gave it a relative reference of A1 to Z100. What that does is if I was in this cell down here and I look at the same thing, come on, this Z is K18 to AJ117. So it's the active cell and it's very far away. And it turns out that in order to go to it, it'll bring, in order to show all those cells, when I do a go to, it'll bring it to the top left corner. In other words, if I click on this and then do go to Z, it kind of pulled it over to the top left. Here's more stuff. I'm in U24. Go to Z, pulls it to the top left. Still in U24, but it pulls it over. So that's kind of cool. 10:48 on my time. One more quick one because it's kind of useful. I hate merging cells, but I merge A1 to E1, A2 to E2, etc., down to row 100, I believe. Row 100, and then no longer. So how do you merge just one set of cells, one row, and many columns, 5 columns, over and over again? Well, here's how you do it. I'm going to make this selection, and I'm going to merge G to L in one row. On the merge, in the Home tab, on the merge and center, there's a drop down. There's also something called merge across, and that's all I have to do, and each one of these is done that way. Okay, Michael, are there any questions looming? If not, I will move on.
There are no questions.
Okay, so let me move on and skip around a little bit. If you write VBA code, what often happens is you need to give the user a message. When you give a message, you put it in the status bar. And unless the user knows to look in the status bar, he'll often not see it. So I prefer something like this. I click wait, and look, you can't miss that one. Look at the ribbon. And after 5 seconds, it reverted. Instead of just 5 seconds, it would revert it at the end of the whatever procedure is going on. So that's very simple. I created that menu, and what the macro does is in 5 seconds, I run wait no longer. But meanwhile, I make sure I'm pointing to the same directory, and I have the ribbon file, this wait.xlam. Well, this is open it. And 5 seconds longer, 5 seconds later, it just closes it. So you don't have to have a message that just says, please wait, although it's the easiest one to create. And voila. Okay. Mailing labels. 1, supposing I have data that looks like this, and I want to sort by the last name. In other words, I want this block, Adams first, and then Frank Edwin next, and then John Jones, and then Tina Spencer. And of course, with only 4 sections here, it's easy to cut and paste into the right order. But let's say I have several hundred names, and I need to sort them. Obviously, if I sort them now, I mean, it is last name, first name, but if I sort them now, I'm going to just get a mess. Actually, hold on. Select the whole thing. Sort, and just get a mess. This is useless. Undo. So here's how I do it. I inserted a row above row 1, and then in cell B2, I see if this cell, A1, is a blank. If it's blank, then I want this cell to the left. Otherwise, I want the cell above, which is why I needed to insert a row. If I fill this down, and I'm going down this extra 1 column, 1 row up below, I get exactly what I'm looking for. Let me just make that look nicer. So this is exactly the order I'm looking for. It's ready to be sorted. So I now sort everything by this column, data A to Z. This is working fine. I can then get rid of this. But let's examine it. Here it says if A1 is blank, show me A2. That's why it says Jane Addams. Otherwise, show me B1. Makes more sense here. If A2 is blank, which it is not, show me B2, which is the cell above. And this keeps on going down until I get another group, because the cell above and to the left is blank, then it picks this one up. Mailing labels 2. I have name, address, and city, state, and zip. I'm from New York. Then it goes all the way down to row 30, but I want it to be this way, name 1, then address 1, then city, state, zip 1. If let's say I start here, and I try, okay, let's do equals A1, and then I want equals B1, and then I want equals C1. I select these 3 with the blank to get that pattern, and I wind up getting garbage. Well, not garbage, but what happened to name 2, 3, 4, and name 6, 7, 8, etc. It obviously skipped. So that doesn't work. But here's a odd solution. Let's see, undo that. Instead of equals A1, no equals X, XA1, XB1, XC1. Make this selection, drag down to row 120. Oops, too far. And look, I have just what I want, except instead of X, Control H, find what? Find X, replace with equals. Replace all. Voila. Mailing labels 3. I now have it this way, and I want it to be this way. So I have A1 A2, A3, and then A5, A6, A7. Then I want obviously A9, etc. But if I do this, total garbage. So I can do something like I did before. Instead of the equal sign, I do X. XA1, XA2, XA3, XA5, XA6, and XA7. Now it recognizes these patterns. And you see that they're right. It goes 1, 5, 9, 13, which is exactly what I want. So now I click in this group and change, or let's do from here, change X to equals. I have another one using this new sequence function. In case you're not familiar with it, sequence, number of rows, number of columns, a start and step, sequence 4,000. Boom, I have 4,000 numbers in here. So what I did, unhide, is this is a text version of the formula. The index of all of column A, sequence of 160 divided by 4, and I did that. Sorry about that. Because it went up to effectively 160, which is the blank. Index of A, the sequence of 160 over 4, comma 4, which means four columns. The number of rows is 40, 160 over 4, and the number of columns is 4, gives me that one formula.
Wow.
Yes.
This is magic.
Yes, thank you. Fill right and down. So I have this. There's no formulas here, but except for this one. I want to fill this to the right and have it pick up this. So again, I can do that XA1. In fact, from XA1, I can just drag to the right now. And I have the X is correct. Change X to equals and I'll get it. But supposing I wanted to do this one. Whoops. I want to do this going down. Let's suppose this isn't even here. If I do XB1 and then, XB1, then XC1, that's not going to give me anything useful because it's not going to give me XD1 and E and so on. So the solution to doing it that way is to put it in an R1C1 notation without an equal sign. Row 1, column 1. What happens when I fill this down? I get that. I can't change it to an equal sign. Equals R1C1 doesn't make sense. However, go to File, Options, Formulas, R1C1 Style. Now this is from someplace else. I don't know what that is. Okay, you normally wouldn't get that. So now I can change R to equals R, because that's the notation now. It works fine. I guess I referred to the wrong cell first. Yeah, I referred to this. I didn't need to. Should have started with row 1, column 2 to start. Anyway, it's there. And now what I would do is I would go back and turn that switch off. Formulas, not R1C1. And you can see that it did it that way. Okay, I'm out of time. I thank you all. Michael, do you want to take over?
But if you have more to show us, we don't mind. We started a bit late. Do you think you need a few more minutes?
Well, I can go on a little bit.
Okay.
I'll do one a little bit. I don't know if I want to go into this one. It's kind of very, very, all right, I'll ask you. It's very, very advanced. Shall I go on anyway? Or, you know what, I'm gonna skip it, sorry. Filling holes. If I want to sort this by region within state, obviously I'm missing a lot of data. I would have to fill this down with north, fill that down, fill this down, etc. Right? And then it would be ready for sorting. Because obviously, if I sort now by state, total garbage. So this has to be filled down. So I'm going to do a go to special blanks, and I have all the blanks selected in there. From this point, I type an equal sign on the up arrow. That's a relative reference to the cell above. Control Enter, and I'm ready for sorting. So if I now do sort by state, add a level, then by region, perfect. I can put it back in the same format it was before by doing a go to formulas and get rid of them. Find the select formulas here, and I hit the delete key. And now I have the answer. In case you didn't know, if I have a multiple selection, if I put in something, when I hit Control Enter, will fill all the cells with that. If I did equals the cell above plus 1, Control Enter, each one of them says the cell above plus 1. Okay, only unique. So this contains only unique values. It may be an employee ID or whatever. You want to make sure you don't enter it twice. If I put in a 7, it's fine. If I put in a 4, it's not fine. So there's a function called countif. Let's do it over here. Equals countif. The range is this. The criteria, actually I need to freeze that. Criteria is the cell to the left. So I'm counting how many in that range is a 1. There's 3 1s in this range. If I double click, there's 5 2s. There's 1 3. There's 2 4s. 1 3, 2 5s, etc. In order to use the data validation for this, which is what I did, I'm looking for those that give an answer of the countif of 1. So if I go here and I look at the data validation, oops, not remove duplicates, sorry. The custom formula, the countif, all of column D for D3, because that's the active cell, has to be a 1. That's what I'm allowing to be. Otherwise, I get unique values only. So I'm allowing the countif of all of column D. If I was on cell C2 and did that, I'm sorry, D2, it then uses D2. So the countif, everything for the active cell is a 1. That's allowed. When I put in a 6 again, down in cell C, D8, if I put in a 6, then the countif for that would return a 2, because there would be 2 6s. That's not allowed, so I get the error. So the question is, supposing I wanted to apply that to an existing range. So I can select this, and I go data validation, and I put in a custom formula, and the formula is equals the countif, this range, comma A1 equals 1. But even in here, I have to lock those in. Okay. So now it won't even allow me to re-enter a 4. I didn't give a definite an error alert. So if this was a big, how do you find out whether your data is correct? Well, in the data validation, there's something that says circle invalid data. If I click on that, it circled all the invalid data, left the 3. So I'd go back and fix it and so on. These are not, I cannot select them. They won't print. All you can do is look at it on the screen in front of you, make your corrections, and when you're done, they should all be gone. Or if you want, you can just clear the validation circles. A little bit more, skip blanks. You may have seen when you do a copy and then, oops, come on, copy, and then you go to paste special. There's this thing that says skip blanks. Probably never used it. The skip blanks means the blanks in the range you're copying are not to be copied. In other words, if I make this selection and copy it, and I go here and bring up the paste special, if I do skip blanks, I get that. It merged them in, ignoring the blank. If I didn't do the skip blanks, I would have, let's do it again, that, because the blanks would have been copied over as well. Text to columns, no. History, find backwards. There's an accounting department. If I want to find the last one, if I go to the very bottom, nope, I'm at the bowling department. Nice company. How do I find the last accounting department? Well, I can do a find accounting. But I hold down the shift key when I click find next, which means find previous. And there it is. I'm still holding down the shift key, so it's finding previous. Okay. I don't remember what I have for this. Yes, I do. So this is a conditionally formatted workbook, worksheet, in which every other cell, every other row is highlighted. If I do 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I delete the 2, row 2, I have 1, 3, 4, but the pattern still remains the same. If I manually colored every other one gray, which I can do this way. Here's a new one. I'll make this gray. And then I select these two and drag the fill handle down. Oops. Those two. Drag the fill handle. Now, one more time. That's not right. Gray and not gray. Fill handle should be gray and not gray. That's not right. All right, I can copy and then go here and paste. Ah, interesting. I can't download it. In any case, that's weird. Could be my machine. In any case,
are you on the beta channel?
Yes.
It happens to me. All kinds of funny things happen on the beta channel.
Yeah.
You know, the Excel beta channel, where you get the early updates.
Unfortunately.
Did you get what I said?
I think so.
Okay, fine. Because on my own too, I get all kinds of strange things that I know shouldn't happen. I get them happen because it's on the beta channel. I think some things break that we don't know until fixed.
Yeah, like my VBA, you saw it, it's small, right? We all know if you use VBA, it's very simple to fix. Go to Tools, Options, Edit a format, change that. I'll make it a 16. Looks nice here. Click OK. Didn't do a thing.
And that's why.
Go back to it again. Tools, Options. Here, went back to 9. So I was on the phone with a text chat with a Microsoft person, and he gave up. Doesn't know. I have something else I need to attend to, so I'm going to have to call it quits here.
Okay. Thanks. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.
Do you have? I know you need to go somewhere. Maybe we'll just combine it into one for you. Any advice for people in the house before we just say bye-bye?
Advice for people to do what?
On, from your wealth of experience, this whole field, even outside of the tool itself, like the whole what you've seen since the version 3.0, it'd be nice to hear what you think hasn't changed, all those many years, and what one should have as a mindset to future-proof oneself too.
So you want to know, you want some advice on, I'm still not getting the question, I'm sorry.
Okay. What advice do you have for many of us who are young in these old data analyses?
About how to learn this stuff better?
Yes, how to
Yes.
be better and how to stay relevant.
I would recommend visiting a site called MrExcel.com, MrExcel.com, and go to their question and answer columns and just browse through some of the topics that interest you. You'll see very interesting solutions that you hadn't thought of before. You may even come across some of my solutions. But visit websites that have Q&A on it. Or buy a book, buy my book. I have a bunch of books out in Excel outside the box, more Excel outside the box, Excel tips and tricks, and my latest one, Cool Excel Shit. Sorry, SH*T. But if you're trying to just learn Excel and get better at it, visit websites that do question and answer, like MrExcel.com. Bill Jelen runs that one, and he's Mr. Excel. Thank you very much for having me.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks.
Oh, wait, one last thing.
Okay.
For anybody who's still on, if you ever want to reach me and ask me a question, I'm at bobumlas@hotmail.com.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Great, thanks.
A pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
So thank you to everyone who joined. I think you need to hop on something else, so we just could only squeeze in there that one last one from him. And it's also what pretty much everybody says. Even Victor is, yes, keeps hammering on it that that's his own secret too. He keeps helping other people, checking out other people's answers, questions, and yeah. So thank you to everyone, and have a very wonderful week ahead. It's been a pleasure, and we're grateful for you all joining. And ciao. Bye.